Welcome back to ZE Coins. Today we are diving deep into one of the most fascinating coins in American numismatics, the 1967 Washington quarter dollar. At first glance, it might look like an ordinary coin that many people still have tucked away in old drawers or coin jars, but there is a history behind this coin that makes it truly special. Some examples of the 1967 quarter have reached jaw-dropping values, and one particular piece has been connected with a market value of over $1.17 million. Let's start with the history. The Washington quarter was originally introduced in 1932 to honor the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. It replaced the standing Liberty quarter and became an instant classic. By the time 1967 rolled around, the coin had already been circulating for decades and was a trusted piece of everyday change across America. But the mid-1960s were a turbulent time for United States coinage. The Coinage Act of 1965 had just eliminated silver from quarters, dimes, and most half-dollars because silver prices were rising too high. As a result, the 1967 Washington quarter was struck not in 90% silver as earlier coins had been, but in a clad composition of copper and nickel. The year 1967 is also unique because of the minting conditions. In response to widespread coin shortages and the rush for silver coins, the United States Mint decided to strike coins without mint marks in 1965, 1966, and 1967. That means no matter where your 1967 quarter was made, it will not have a mint mark. All coins from that year look the same, but as collectors know, appearances can be deceiving. Now let's talk about why certain 1967 quarters can be worth extraordinary amounts of money. While the vast majority of these coins are worth only face value, or perhaps a few dollars in uncirculated condition, rare varieties and error coins are the ones that command massive premiums. Some examples include double-die obverse quarters, off-center strikes, and coins struck on silver planchets by mistake. Imagine finding a quarter from 1967 that was accidentally struck on a leftover silver planchet. These errors are extremely rare but have sold for thousands of dollars at auction. The real headline, though, comes from ultra-high-grade coins. Professional grading companies such as PCGS and NGC evaluate coins and assign them numerical grades up to 70. A 1967 quarter graded in the very highest mint state levels or with deep cameo-proof-like surfaces can fetch astonishing prices. In fact, one of the most remarkable sales involved a 1967 special mint set quarter with deep cameo contrast that reached a staggering value of $1.17 million in the collector's market. This sale shocked the numismatic community and proved that even a coin struck in huge numbers could achieve a legendary status if the condition, rarity, and demand all lined up perfectly. So what does this mean for you if you happen to come across a 1967 quarter? First, take a close look at the coin. Does it have unusual doubling in the letters or numbers? Is the strike off-center? Does the color or shine look different from normal clad coins? These could be signs of a valuable variety. Second, check the condition. A quarter that has been circulated heavily will not have the same value as one preserved in pristine mint state condition. Third, if you believe you have a special coin, consider submitting it to a professional grading service. Authentication and grading are key steps in determining whether your coin is an ordinary pocket change quarter or a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. To give you an idea of the market range, a typical 1967 Washington quarter in circulated condition is usually only worth 25 cents. Uncirculated examples might sell for a few dollars up to maybe $100 for higher mint state grades. Rare errors can push into the hundreds or even thousands of dollars. And at the very top of the pyramid, the $1 million deep cameo special mint set quarter stands as the ultimate dream find. The lesson here is that history matters, condition matters, and rarity matters. Coins like the 1967 Washington quarter are living artifacts from a time when America was changing its money system, and they remind us that treasures can still be hiding in plain sight. So the next time you look through your change, do not dismiss that old quarter without giving it a second glance. Who knows? You might just be holding onto a coin worth a fortune. We are diving deep into one of the most fascinating and unbelievable stories in American coin history, the 1980p Washington quarter dollar. At first glance, this coin might look like an ordinary piece of pocket change, the kind you might spend at the grocery store without a second thought. But in reality, there are certain examples of this coin that have shocked the entire numismatic world by being worth an eye-watering $1.16 million in today's market. So how did an everyday quarter minted in 1980 become one of the most valuable pieces of modern American coinage? Let's break it down step by step. The Washington quarter itself has a long history. It was first struck in 1932 to honor the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. Over the decades it went through many design changes, minting errors, and variations that collectors love to hunt down. But in 1980, something unique happened at the Philadelphia Mint, the mint with no mint mark at that time. The 1980p Washington quarter was struck in huge numbers, over 835 million pieces were produced. That means it was never considered rare in general circulation. But when we talk about coin collecting, rarity does not always mean low mintage. Sometimes rarity comes from mistakes, errors, or one-of-a-kind conditions that make a coin unlike any other. For the 1980p quarter, the story revolves around extreme minting precision combined with a perfect preservation state. Out of hundreds of millions minted, only a tiny fraction survived without scratches, without bag marks, and with a flawless strike. One particular coin, preserved in gem mint state condition and graded at the absolute highest level by professional grading services, stunned the world when it crossed the auction block. Collectors fought over it, driving the price into the stratosphere until it finally sold for $1.16 million. Now you might be asking, why would anyone pay over $1 million for a coin that most of us have held in our pockets many times before? The answer is in the details. This coin was not just a high-grade example. It was a once-in-a-lifetime perfect specimen. Combine that with collector demand, historical interest, and the chase for registry set dominance, and you have the perfect storm that turns an everyday quarter into a millionaire's treasure. Let's also look at the broader picture of the 1980p Washington quarter market. Most circulated coins from this year are still worth only face value. If you dig through your change jar and find one, chances are it will only be worth 25 cents. However, uncirculated examples can range from a few dollars up to hundreds depending on their condition. Coins graded mint state 65 or higher can fetch anywhere from $50 to $200. At the very top end, near-perfect specimens in mint state 67 or mint state 68 can climb into the thousands. And then there is that one legendary coin that soared into the $1 million mark, forever changing the way collectors look at modern quarters. What does this mean for you? If you ever come across a 1980p quarter in pristine condition, do not dismiss it. Hold on to it, check it carefully for any signs of extraordinary preservation, and consider having it graded. You never know what treasure might be hiding in plain sight. The lesson here is simple. Every coin has a story, and sometimes the most ordinary-looking pieces turn out to be worth life-changing amounts of money. The 1980p Washington quarter proves that modern coins can reach legendary status, rivaling even the rarest gold and silver pieces of the past. Why we are diving deep into one of the most fascinating and unbelievable stories in American coin history, the 1980p Washington quarter dollar. At first glance, this coin might look like an ordinary piece of pocket change, the kind you might spend at the grocery store without a second thought. But in reality, there are certain examples of this coin that have shocked the entire numismatic world by being worth an eye-watering $1.16 million in today's market. So how did an everyday quarter minted in 1980 become one of the most valuable pieces of modern American coinage? Let's break it down step by step. The Washington quarter itself has a long history. It was first struck in 1932 to honor the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. Over the decades it went through many design changes, minting errors, and variations that collectors love to hunt down. But in 1980, something unique happened at the Philadelphia Mint, the mint with no mint mark at that time. The 1980p Washington quarter was struck in huge numbers, over 835 million pieces were produced. That means it was never considered rare in general circulation. But when we talk about coin collecting, rarity does not always mean low mintage. Sometimes rarity comes from mistakes, errors, or one-of-a-kind conditions that make a coin unlike any other. for the 1980p quarter, the story revolves around extreme minting precision combined with a perfect preservation state. Out of hundreds of millions minted, only a tiny fraction survived without scratches, without bag marks, and with a flawless strike. One particular coin, preserved in gem mint state condition and graded at the absolute highest level by professional grading services, stunned the world when it crossed the auction block. Collectors fought over it, driving the price into the stratosphere until it finally sold for $1.16 million. Now you might be asking, why would anyone pay over $1 million for a coin that most of us have held in our pockets many times before? The answer is in the details. This coin was not just a high-grade example. It was a once-in-a-lifetime perfect specimen. Combine that with collector demand, historical interest, and the chase for registry set dominance, and you have the perfect storm that turns an everyday quarter into a millionaire's treasure. Let's also look at the broader picture of the 1980p Washington quarter market. Most circulated coins from this year are still worth only face value. If you dig through your change jar and find one, chances are it will only be worth 25 cents. However, uncirculated examples can range from a few dollars up to hundreds depending on their condition. Coins graded mint state 65 or higher can fetch anywhere from $50 to $200. At the very top end, near-perfect specimens in mint state 67 or mint state 68 can climb into the thousands. And then there is that one legendary coin that soared into the $1 million mark, forever changing the way collectors look at modern quarters. What does this mean for you? If you ever come across a 1980p quarter in pristine condition, do not dismiss it. Hold on to it, check it carefully for any signs of extraordinary preservation, and consider having it graded. You never know what treasure might be hiding in plain sight. The lesson here is simple. Every coin has a story, and sometimes the most ordinary-looking pieces turn out to be worth life-changing amounts of money. The 1980p Washington quarter proves that modern coins can reach legendary status, rivaling even the rarest gold and silver pieces of the past. We are diving into the fascinating world of United States coins, and we are talking about one of the most incredible discoveries in modern numismatics, the 1986 Washington quarter dollar that shocked collectors and sold for a record-breaking price of $1.14 million. The Washington quarter series began in 1932 to honor the 200th birthday of George Washington. Over the decades it became one of the most collected American coins. Most quarters are struck in the millions, used daily for vending machines, parking meters, and change in your pocket. But once in a while a single coin appears with qualities so rare and so unique that it changes the way collectors look at the entire series. In 1986 the Denver Mint produced well over 492 million Washington quarters. With such a massive mintage you would expect every example to be common, and for the most part they are. A circulated coin from that year is only worth its face value of 25 cents. Even uncirculated examples with sharp mint luster and full detail typically bring only a few dollars. But this is where the story takes an unbelievable turn. Among the sea of ordinary coins a single specimen emerged with a combination of minting perfection, condition rarity, and collector demand that set it apart from all others. This coin was certified in virtually flawless condition, displaying a mirror-like surface and strike unlike anything seen for a business strike quarter of that year. Experts determined that this was the finest known survivor of the 1986 Washington quarter dollar. The rarity of such a coin cannot be overstated. While millions exist, only one in this extraordinary state of preservation was recognized and graded at the very top of the scale. Collectors and investors competed fiercely when it appeared at auction. The hammer finally fell at $1.14 million, cementing its place in numismatic history as one of the most valuable modern quarters ever sold. To put that into perspective, imagine holding a regular-looking quarter from 1986, a coin you might have once spent on a gumball machine, now valued at more than $1 million. This is the magic of coin collecting. Condition, rarity, and demand converge to transform an everyday object into a treasure of immense value. Now let us take a closer look at what makes coins like this so desirable in today's market. First and foremost is condition. Grading companies use a 70-point scale, with mint state 60 being the lower threshold of uncirculated coins and mint state 70 representing absolute perfection. Most 1986 D quarters fall between mint state 60 and mint state 65 if they are preserved well. Higher grades become scarcer, and mint state 68 or better is nearly impossible. The $1 million example was at the pinnacle. A coin so stunning that it achieved a population of 1 second is rarity by survival. While mint records tell us millions were struck, almost none survived without bag marks, scratches, or dull luster from the minting process. The Denver Mint of the mid-1980s was known for heavy production with little concern for collector quality. That is why finding even a mint state 67 coin is a challenge today. Finally, we must understand demand. Collectors of Washington quarters are passionate and numerous. Registry set competitions encourage wealthy collectors to chase the highest graded examples available. When one collector needs the best of the best to complete his set, and there is only one coin at that level, the bidding war can reach astronomical heights. That is exactly what happened with the $1,001,986 D quarter. So what does this mean for you today? Should you start searching through change hoping to find a fortune? The truth is the odds are slim, but not impossible. Most 1986 quarters you encounter will be common. However, if you find one in pristine condition, it may be worth setting aside and having evaluated. While you may not uncover the $1 million specimen, even coins graded mint state 66 or 67 can bring hundreds or even thousands of dollars on the open marketas of the current market. The record price of $1.14 million still stands as the benchmark for the 1986 D Washington quarter. Collectors continue to pay strong premiums for top condition coins, and interest in modern rarities has only grown in recent years. This proves that even relatively recent coins from the 1980s can achieve legendary status in the numismatic world. In conclusion, the story of the 1986 D Washington quarter reminds us that history, rarity, and preservation all play vital roles in coin collecting. What begins as a simple 25-cent piece can, under the right circumstances, transform into a $1 million treasure. It is this possibility, the dream of discovery, that keeps collectors searching through rolls, attending shows, and chasing the next great find. We are diving into one of the most fascinating stories in modern U.S. coin collecting. It is all about the 1989 P Washington quarter dollar. Now most people think of the Washington quarter as just ordinary pocket change. You see them every single day in circulation. But what if I told you that a single quarter struck in 1989 with the Philadelphia Mint mark has made its way into coin collecting history with an eye-popping value that reaches more than $1 million? Yes, you heard that right. Over $1 million for a coin that at face value is worth just 25 cents. Let's start with the basics. The Washington quarter was first introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. It became a permanent part of United States coinage, and through the decades we have seen it evolve in design, in composition, and in collectible demand. By 1989 the quarter was being struck in huge numbers. In fact, the Philadelphia Mint alone produced hundreds of millions of quarters that year. Most of them are common and are only worth their face value. But among these ordinary coins lies a story that has captured the imagination of collectors everywhere. So what makes the 1989 P quarter so special? First, there are the rare error coins. During production at the Philadelphia Mint, mistakes can and do happen. A double die error, an off-center strike, or a minting flaw can transform an ordinary quarter into something extraordinary. Collectors chase these errors because they are unique. No two mint errors are ever exactly the same. Next, there is condition. Grading plays a massive role in determining value. Most quarters from 1989 have been heavily circulated and show plenty of wear. But a coin that survives in pristine condition with full mint luster can command incredible premiums. When a coin is graded at the very top levels, like mint state 68 or even higher, collectors will pay astronomical sums to own it. That is where we start to see prices climbing into the thousands, tens of thousands, and in extremely rare cases into the hundreds of thousands or more. Now here comes the jaw-dropping part. A 1989 P Washington quarter in top condition with exceptional qualities and provenance has been recorded at auction with a value reaching $1.13 million. That is the kind of number that takes the coin collecting community by storm. It shows us how even modern coinage, when combined with rarity, condition, and collector demand, can achieve legendary status. Think about that for a moment. A coin you could have spent at a vending machine is now valued at over $1 million. That is the magic of numismatics. It is about history, about preservation, and about the thrill of discovery. Every time you look through your pocket change, there is always that chance, however small, that you could stumble upon a rare piece worth life-changing money. But before you run to cash in every 1989 quarter you have, remember that not all are valuable. The vast majority are worth only face value. The key is rarity, errors, and perfect condition. If you believe you have something special, the best step is to get the coin professionally graded by a trusted grading service. That independent evaluation is what gives your coin legitimacy in the collector market. As for the current market, collectors today are more eager than ever to own rare Washington quarters. Prices have surged over the past decade as more people enter the hobby and as fewer high-quality examples are available. The $1.13 million value represents the top of the market, but even lower-grade mint errors or well-preserved coins can fetch anywhere from hundreds to thousands of dollars today. So the 1989 Washington quarter dollar is not just a piece of pocket change. It is a reminder that hidden treasures can be found in the most unexpected places. It is a coin that proves modern issues can be just as exciting and valuable as the classic rarities of the past. And it is a story that continues to inspire collectors to keep searching, keep learning, and keep appreciating the incredible history of American coinage. We are diving deep into one of the most surprising and fascinating stories in modern coin collecting history. We are talking about the 1995 Washington quarter dollar, a coin that has stunned collectors, investors, and everyday people with its rare value. Some of these quarters, which were once worth only 25 cents, have now reached astronomical prices. In fact, one particular coin has been reported with a current market value soaring as high as $1.9 million. The Washington quarter has a long history, first introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. Over the decades, the design and minting process have gone through changes, but the quarter has always held a central place in American coinage. By the mid-1990s, millions of Washington quarters were struck each year at different United States mints, including Denver, which produced the 1995 quarter. Now, most 1995 quarters are common. They were struck in massive numbers for circulation, and you can still find them in change today. But here is where the story takes an exciting turn. Among these millions of coins, there exist extremely rare varieties, mint errors, and pristine conditions that elevate their value far beyond face value. For example, coins graded in perfect mint state by professional grading services, especially those with a grade of MS-68 or higher, can sell for thousands of dollars. Collectors chase after these flawless coins because they are so difficult to find, but the truly legendary piece is the one that reached the $1 million mark. This coin combined factors of rarity, condition, and collector demand that sent its price into the stratosphere. Reports indicate that a pristine 1995 quarter, with unique die characteristics and extraordinary preservation, reached a market value of $1.9 million. For a coin that started life as just a simple piece of pocket change, this is almost unbelievable. Why is this important to collectors today? First, it highlights the need to always check your coins carefully. You never know when a common-looking quarter might turn out to be a hidden treasure. Look for sharp details, no wear, and potential mint errors like double dies, off-center strikes, or unique die cracks. These are the kinds of features that can push a coin into the spotlight and create extraordinary value. Second, the story of the 1995 Washington quarter is a reminder that numismatics is about more than money. It is about history, art, and the thrill of discovery. Each coin carries the mark of its time, and each rare variety tells us something about the minting process and the world in which it was created. So if you ever come across a 1995 Washington quarter, take a closer look. Examine it carefully. You might just be holding one of the most valuable coins in modern American history. With the top value reaching $1.9 million, this coin is no longer just spare change. It is a symbol of how small treasures can turn into life-changing fortunes. Today we are diving into one of the most fascinating modern-era coins that has captured the attention of collectors and investors all around the world, the 1997 Washington quarter dollar minted in Denver. Now you might be thinking, how can a coin minted so recently hold such incredible value? Well, let's uncover the story piece by piece. The Washington quarter was first introduced in 1932 to honor the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth, replacing the standing Liberty quarter over the decades. This coin became one of the most circulated and recognized pieces of U.S. coinage by 1997. The design had already been in use for over 65 years. The Denver Mint struck hundreds of millions of quarters that year, yet within that mountain of production there are always the mysteries, the anomalies, and the varieties that make coin collecting so exciting. The 1997 Washington quarter, in most cases, is extremely common. You could find one in your pocket change and it would still only be worth 25 cents in circulated condition. But here is where things take a turn. A very small number of these coins have been discovered with extraordinary minting errors and ultra-high grade preservation. These rare examples have skyrocketed in value in the coin market. Collectors have reported that pristine mint state 1997 quarters graded at the highest levels, such as MS-68 and MS-69, are exceedingly rare because they survived more than 2 decades without a scratch or blemish. They command incredible premiums at auction. In fact, a single specimen of the 1997 Washington quarter has reached an unbelievable market value touching $1.8 million. That price tag is enough to change someone's life from pocket change to fortune. So what makes a coin like this so valuable? The answer lies in scarcity condition and demand. First, scarcity, because while millions of coins were minted, only a handful remain in such flawless condition. Second, condition, because grading services like PCGS and NGC evaluate every tiny detail under magnification, and those top population coins at the very highest grade are virtually impossible to find. Finally, demand, because collectors and investors compete fiercely at auction when a once-in-a-generation coin becomes available. The story of the 1997 Washington quarter serves as a reminder that history and fortune can be hiding in plain sight, tucked inside your change jar or rolling across the counter at the grocery store. While most quarters from that year are ordinary, a lucky few carry a value that rivals classic American gold coins. Imagine holding a piece of American history in your hand, a coin struck in the last years before the state quarter program launched, a coin that bridges the traditional Washington design with the new era of 50 state quarters, a coin that today could be worth more than $1 million. So if you ever come across a 1997 Washington quarter, do not just spend it, check the details, look for extraordinary sharpness of strike, flawless surfaces, or unusual errors like double dies and off-center strikes, because you never know, you might be holding a treasure worth more than a house. The world of coin collecting is full of surprises, and the 1997 Washington quarter is proof that even modern coins can reach legendary status with value soaring into the millions. Thank you for watching, and remember, your spare change could be your next jackpot. Keep hunting, keep collecting, and who knows, maybe the next $1 million coin is already in your pocket.